Hi all, welcome to another video. Today we're doing a few new things. We're drawing Danganronpa fan art on a Shikishi. Shikishis are these boards that people use here to do calligraphy or to collect autographs too, apparently. You can sometimes see a bunch on the wall of a ramen shop or a karaoke place with various celebrity autographs on them. I saw Rambutan from Rambutan Illustration here on YouTube doing it and I got curious, so I got a bunch. They're actually pretty cheap, and I did swatches of different art materials on one of them, and it actually works pretty well for Copic markers. So this is what I'm trying today. Now, as for what I'm drawing, this is Nagito Komaeda from Danganronpa 2. The subject is a request of my friend Oren, who was the first to translate and do a let's play of this game in English many years ago. If you don't know Danganronpa, it's a series of video games by Spike Chunsoft that deal with a sort of, well, it's complicated and it's dark, but it's very good. A bad description of it would be a group of teenagers with random super abilities get stuck in a high-stakes whodunit game. It's part Battle Royale, part Ace Attorney, all very interesting and very anime. So Komaeda is one of the more prominent characters in the second game, and his ability is luck. At some point in the game, he gets to play Russian roulette, which he, of course, plays on the hardest difficulty level. This picture is inspired by that. I get to draw a gun, which is something that I haven't really done before. I looked at a bunch of different revolver pictures on Google Images and cobbled this one together out of them. I did a few thumbnails for this beforehand, but in the end I came back to the first idea, which is what I developed into the sketch here. I have to say I'm always a bit self-conscious when adapting a highly stylized character design into my own style, which is probably why I never do much fan art. It always ends up looking a bit strange to me, although that's probably the beauty of fan art. You do get to see different takes on the same design. The sketch took me quite a while actually, partly because of the unfamiliar subject matter, but also because I was trying to refine it to be as clean as possible, because I didn't want to do the line art before the markers. Whenever I do that, I find that I lose a lot of the energy and it feels to me a bit like a coloring book picture, which isn't bad, but I prefer using line art as a supporting player to the colors. Speaking of line art, I think I'm going to try switching to color pencils for it. I bought myself a huge set of 150 Holbein color pencils for my birthday last month, and I have been a bit shy about using those because of the sheer number of colors and pencils, but I think going forward it's time to put them to use. I also want to try using them on top of markers, but I haven't done that here yet, maybe in the next illustration. So I've started going in with the markers. You can see that at first they are quite grayish on the paper illustration board on the Shikishi, but that's just the alcohol solvent soaking the surface. When it evaporates, the color is just fine. It's actually kind of helpful because then I can see when the surface is still wet and it will be easy to blend on it, or when it's already dry and I'll need to reactivate the color. I started with my lightest color for the skin, E0000, floral white, because Komaeda is quite pale. His hair is actually white. I'm laying in the base and then I'll go back and layer a bit for some shadows and dimensionality. I usually use E0000 to start with for pale skin, and then shade with E00, cotton pearl, and then E02, fruit pink, but here I don't think I even ended up using E02 since he's so pale. I also like to add a bit of BV31, pale lavender, in the deeper shadows on the light parts. I've yet to try a darker skin tone actually. I haven't been using alcohol markers for long, so I'm a bit shy or hesitant because of lack of experience. Even though they work a little bit like watercolors, being transparent and layerable, the speed at which you need to work at is a bit intimidating, and of course you can't mix your own colors on the palette. I'm still not entirely sure if I'm happy with what I came up with here. It's the first time I draw this character, and maybe I should have done a few smaller drawings of him at first to learn his design and find a more comfortable way to adapt it, but I rarely do that much prep work. I used to even not do thumbnails at all and just dive in, but I find that preparation such as thumbnails and color comps does help quite a bit. Of course, I didn't really need to do a color comp for this piece because I'm just taking the official colors from the character design, or the closest thing that matches in my small Copic collection, and using that. I think as I practice more and get into a groove with markers and maybe incorporate other mediums like color pencils, I'll feel better about the results I get with my Copics. So here I started to shade the hair, and while it is white, instead of being shaded in blues or grays, in the official design it's shaded with light browns, so I followed that here. I guess the end result is more of a light blonde effect rather than stark white hair maybe? I don't know. The warmer tones give some interest in any case. The warmer tone here is R02 Salmon Pink, which gives some depth, and which I later toned down a bit with the BV31. The hoodie gave me some trouble because it is quite dark, and I'm using my darkest green as a base color, so I needed to layer a bit to add shadows. To give some highlights, I used the lighter green I have, G24 Willow, but it could only be used for the more extreme highlights because Komaeda's hoodie is quite dark. The dark green, by the way, is G29 Pine Tree Green. Coloring the hoodie also meant filling in some larger areas, and these are always trickier to get flat and streak-free because the markers dry so fast. It ends up being a slightly mottled texture, which I don't really hate, to be honest, as long as it's not actual streaks, but I suppose I could have done better here. I really like Komaeda's clothing design. The hoodie is really cool. You can't see the bottom of it in the picture here, but it has a sort of stepped square hemline that would probably be a pain to sew if you were cosplaying it. And somehow, even though the accents are red, it never reads Christmassy. I'm using my neutral grays to shade the t-shirt a little bit, but I didn't want to go overboard. Since I'm leaving most of his hair white, if the t-shirt were shaded a lot, it might end up looking a bit weird. I got a pretty good set of grays, N0, N3, 5, 7, and 9. I used those later for the gun as well, and I also layered them to try to darken some parts on the hoodie. Now, for the gun, I don't own a gun, I'm not really interested in them, and it's totally not a thing here, so please don't point out all the ways that this drawing is wrong. I just wanted something that looked more or less okay without having to do a thesis on how those things work. I used the grays I talked about before to try to make it look a little bit metallic, and as long as it doesn't look grossly wrong, I think it's fine. You can tell I'm not into guns because I left this part for last. And finally, the line art. I didn't want to put line art everywhere, just in select spots that could use some definition. So I did the face, around the hair of course, the hands, the gun, and yeah. I tried to use some loose strokes in some places because you can't get too much line variation with fine liners, but if I were to go back and thicken lines in too many parts, it would end up looking overworked, I think. So I went for loose and broken lines in the lighter places. And we're nearly at the end of the video, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content like this, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified of new uploads, and leave a comment. Who is your favorite Danganronpa character? Mine is Sakura. I love Sakura so much. Sakura forever. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. The links to all my social media and my Patreon are in the description box below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!